It's Friday, it's the Betting Edge with the Prez. I'm Lawrence Presman, excited to have you all with us. Great show today. Marco D'Angelo, the co-founder of WagerTalk Media, which happens, in case you don't watch all my shows, to own WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic Gold Sheet, and I guarantee you within 8 months we'll be adding more to that. He's with us, and Jeff Oskeim is with us. Jeff's got a big personality, guys. He likes to talk a lot of shit. He likes, as the British people say, to take the piss out of people that he does shows with, and that's okay. We love having him, and he's on a monster roll. Both these guys are on a monster roll. We'll talk about that in a sec. We're talking 2 college football games today, 2 NFL games today, and a baseball preview. I want to bring my guests in. Jeff, let's start with you, dude. Show us the vest.
You got it?
Patagonia?
Like that?
I do. You look really good, Jeff. I'm telling you flat out. I like the checkered whatevers. I like the vest, the scruff, your baby blues. You're looking very good. My brother was wearing a vest a few nights ago when I saw him. It was a maroon or mauve vest. Then I saw the same vest at the Wynn in the Brunello Cappuccino store. I don't even want to discuss the amount of money he paid for that vest. Jeff, I'm figuring you did not spend that type of money.
Unlikely price.
Yeah. I didn't even know of this Brunello Cappuccino guy, but hey, I don't live in that price range. Marco D'Angelo, I saw you got a haircut. Last I was with you, it was long and flowing.
Prez.
You know, Marco, yesterday these guys commented on the Betting Edge that I am rude to my guests. Do you feel that way?
Prez, every show you do and the shows you don't do, the comments mention that fact. But you know what? We love you. We understand. When you're in the presence of 2 guys like Jeff and myself, it's the only way you can even the table up. Try to, play on a level playing field. So go ahead. Whatever it takes so you can sleep at night, we're here for you, buddy.
Last night it took a lot. Anyway, let's not get into that. Yesterday was 7 minutes of small talk before we finally got to the show. So why don't we just get started right away? Should we start with a promo about the Prez? What do you say, Marco?
I can't wait to see what you're possibly going to promo.
Yeah, baby. Okay, my dance jig is up. I do have a 5% play this Sunday in the NFL. It's actually my favorite 5% play of the year so far. It is Marco approved and Oskeim approved. I've spoken to both of them in great detail. They took the game apart 6 ways from Sunday and all agreed with me on this play. I've also spoke to Teddy, Dave Koken, and Tony Finn. Everybody loves my play, and you get it for $15. It's regularly $40. It's only $15 for you. Use the promo code PREZ5 and then a percentage sign. PREZ5 percentage sign. Marco D'Angelo, you're frickin' rolling.
Just doing what we do. It's been a great football season. Knock on wood. We don't want it to stop. Last 4 weeks, incredible. Got the week off to a good start last night with Louisiana Monroe. For our clients, 29-10 Prez on the current run. That's resulted in 63% bankroll increase in just a little over 4 weeks. And we're off to a 6-3-1 start in baseball playoffs, picking up another 17% there. So things are quite good, my friend, here in Vegas right now.
Well, that's nice to hear. I'm 6-1 in the baseball playoffs, not to rain on your parade. Jeff, we'll talk about you in a second. Let's get into this Cincinnati. well,
Did you say 6-1?
Yeah.
I'm 95-50, Prez. 6-1.
95 and
A
50.
7-game sample? A 7-game sample? Man, that is woo. I don't know, Marco.
Dude, it's all I got, man. It's all I got right now. It's all I got, baby.
He has never spoken more of the truth in that last statement. It's all he's got right now.
What?
Hey, Prez, this is a what have you done for me lately business, okay? I love, let me have my 30-second rant. I love the guys on Twitter. You guys, get creative. I love, we have the Bet On It show. I missed my one play on the show on one of them last week, and that's the only game they brought up. They forget the fact of all the other games, and it's just what you've done lately. And you know what, Prez? Right now, you're killing it in baseball, so let's run with that. Now that the season's almost over, but, okay.
Hey, don't rain on my parade. Guys, I just changed the scroll at the bottom of the screen. We'll get to Jeff later, but look at those numbers. That is what Jeff Oskeim is doing right now. Guys, Cincinnati, Houston, college football. Houston is at home, +7. There are some 7.5s on the board. They are a disappointing 2-3 on the season, playing Cincinnati at 4-1. Over and under has dropped substantially. Jeff, we'll go to you first. It came out at 55. It's now down to 51.5. The line moved as well from 5 to 7. Where, my friend, are you and your vest going?
You know what, Prez? I do not understand the line in this game. I mean, my math has it around a 4.5-point favor for Cincinnati on the road. I think it's a great spot for Houston, and I've been talking to sources in the program who've told me that the practices have been very lively and energetic. The kids have not given up on the season, and head coach Dana Holgerson has also reemphasized that fact that they are playing hard and strong. And for me, the buy sign on the Houston Cougars was when they went to North Texas 2 weeks ago, and after their two best players, the quarterback Eric King and the wide receiver Keith Corbin, decided to redshirt after a 1-3 start to the season, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But that's a loophole in the rule, the redshirt rule. So they then had to pack their bags. Days after that announcement, they went to a very good North Texas team, and they took them down. They beat them by 21 points as 7-point underdogs. I really like where Houston is going in this game. They've had time to work out with the backup quarterback, Clayton Tune. And Clayton Tune is actually a dual-style quarterback just like King was. He rushed for over 100 yards against North Texas. And I really think it's a great spot for Houston plus the points. And then Cincinnati, and I'm sure Marco will touch upon this as well, because I think we both kind of, Marco, like the situational spot as well. Cincinnati arrives off an emotional 27-24 upset win over Central Florida, and it was the first victory for that program over a ranked opponent since 2009. I just don't see the Bearcats coming down and staying focused on this game. I really like Houston plus the points.
Mr. D'Angelo, sir, we're in the presence of greatness. What do you like?
Yeah, Jeff knows which way I'm going, obviously. Yes, this is a big situational spot. It's a flat spot for Cincinnati. That game, yes, they had a top 25 team come into their stadium on Friday night last week. It was a Friday night blackout. The entire stadium wore black, the fans, and they they brought the night down from Central Florida. They have been the top team in the conference for how long? They hadn't had a regular season loss until earlier this season when Pitt beat them during the regular season. This was the team that went back-to-back seasons during the regular season, undefeated. Team that was looking for respect, well, they got it snatched away. Cincinnati's the one that did it. And if you look at this Cincinnati Bearcat team, they've got one blemish on their card. They're sitting at 4-1, and the one loss was against Ohio State. And at the time, it looked really bad. Second week of the season, getting blitzed 42-0. They were only a 14.5-point underdog in that game. And now we are seeing, obviously, as the season has played out, we really undervalued Ohio State coming into this year. They are playing way beyond expectations. So that 42-0 shellacking really doesn't look as bad as it did after week 2. They're coming off putting up 52 points on the board 2 weeks ago at Marshall, and now have that home win and got to go right back out on the road. I think it's a horrible spot for Cincinnati. Take Houston plus the points. This should go right down to the wire.
Yeah, I agree, Marco. And I just wanted to touch upon one more thing, Prez, with Cincinnati and that last week's victory over Central Florida. That was really an inside-out win for the Bearcats. I mean, they were actually outgained 423 to 341 in that game, and they finished minus 10 in first downs. It was a 28 to 18 disparity in first downs between the two teams. And the Bearcats benefited from a pick six and 2 additional interceptions inside the Central Florida's 10-yard line. So it's a really misleading final score. It is a big win for Cincinnati, no question about it, which sets them up for a letdown this week. But it was an inside-out, fraudulent win at best. I like Houston plus the points.
Marco, I host 13 shows a week. I do 2 a day with Puck Time Betting Edge. I got the college football betting show. I have the NFL presidential address, the second most watched NFL show online behind your masterpiece Bet on It. And I have Pros vs. Joes. You and I founded this company about 6 years ago, the two of us. And I listened to Jeff talk, you, Koken, Gianni. Dude, is there a better team anywhere on the planet? I mean, Jeff is talking about inside out. The dude's got connections with Houston's booster class. Guy hides out at the St. Louis Cardinals frickin' bullpen to study who's coming in. I mean, in all seriousness, Koken, Gianni, you, Bryant, me, Leonard, Carmine, Bianco, and Sports Memo, Teddy, Alex, Andrew, Mid-Major Matt, Kevin Dolan in boxing, our golf guy, our horse guy. I'm saying this because I was listening to Jeff talk and I was thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, man, Keim profits. I mean, how is there a better freaking handicapping company out there than ours?
I just hope you didn't forget anybody on that rundown, because if you did, you're going to make that person pissed off that you didn't mention them. You ran the whole roster, but yes, Prez, unlike a lot of services or websites that they'll put anybody up. And guys, this is no kidding. We get at least 15, 20 inquiries a week of people, and I love them. Every email starts the same way. I'm hitting 70-some% over the last, God bless you. Yep. You're hitting 70% and you want to come on our website and you've never heard of the person before. We just don't put anybody on our website. It's been something that, we look at guys with detail. And you know what, Prez, let's talk it, back in the day when we first started. We do have an eye for talent. If you remember, we brought on a guy named Sports Cheetah, who's gone on to, do some big things, and you shout out to him. But where did he get his big break at? It was right here at WagerTalk. And we are good in that. Keim Profit is a part of that, of finding those young guys that have the niche sports. And, that kid is absolutely freaking amazing.
Yeah,
with
and
the
his best sport.
WNBA. Most people don't even want to even look at it or what. But you know what? I don't care what the sport is. If I can make money following somebody that knows that sport, I don't care what sport it is. I'm betting it. And the guy had a phenomenal WNBA season, and looking forward to his NBA picks with us this coming season. The guy stays in his wheelhouse, doesn't try to pick everything on the board. He knows where his strengths are. And, this is an up-and-coming guy, really. Oh, yeah, dude. Drew Martin, Rob Vino.
It's ridiculous. And Jeff, you're part of the team, bro, and you're on a 17-3 all sports run. I marvel, Marco. I marvel at what you and I have accomplished. With that said, it's obviously an entire team effort, and the office coming in Detroit, led by Johnny. Jesus Christ, guys, take a look at our YouTube subscribers. We're picking up 1,000 new YouTube subscribers every 4 days. Anyway, Navy, -1 versus Tulsa, over and under 53. I've got no opinion on this game. Jeff, I'll go to you first.
I have a feeling, Prez, that Marco and I are going to be on the same side in this one as well. It's a great situational spot for Navy, and it's a horrible spot for Tulsa. You have a Tulsa team that led unbeaten SMU 30-9 in the fourth quarter last week before ultimately losing 43-37 in overtime. Triple overtime. As if that isn't worse bad enough, the Golden Hurricane missed 2 field goals and a 43-yarder that would have won it. And I just don't see how their head coach, Philip Montgomery, gets his squad off the proverbial mat and takes on Navy this Saturday. The other issue is Philip Montgomery. I really like him as a head coach, but he has not figured out how to stop the triple option. The past 4 meetings with Navy is 4-0 straight up and against the spread against Tulsa. And then in those 4 meetings, Tulsa has allowed an average of 417 rushing yards per game at 6.5 yards per carry. And then if you look at the team's respective defenses, Navy has a better defense. They've held every opponent this season to season low yards. And one thing I like to look at is the havoc rate, and I can go into that in greater detail, but the havoc rate is basically the total plays divided by the total number of tackles for loss, forced fumbles, or passes defended divided. And Navy, the midshipmen, have the 6th best havoc rate in the country. They're ranked in the top 25 in line yards, stuff rate, and sack rate. And then you look at Tulsa, they're ranked near the bottom, 113th in havoc allowed. Havoc allowed is interceptions, tackles for a loss, and fumbles offensively. And they're yielding the 5th most tackles for a loss in 2019. You look at the Navy offense, as I mentioned before, Tulsa has struggled to stop the triple option. The midshipmen are ranked 1st in the nation in red zone points per attempt and have a yards per play differential of plus 107 compared to Tulsa's, which is minus 0.56. And finally, if you look at Navy, they're 30-14 against the spread as road underdogs, and they're 14-0 as underdogs off a win versus teams with a losing record. I love Navy in this spot. I think they're going to win the game outright. I think the market right now has them at, -1, -1.5 the last time I checked. But I would lay that point with the midshipmen in a blowout over Tulsa.
Marco D'Angelo, I take it you agree.
Oh, and, he's just, dropping all his knowledge. I don't know if he's trying, impressing us or just showing off, okay? Here's the bottom line. Everything Jeff just said is all great. It's perfect. I agree 100%. But I could condense it to you real simple. Tulsa's going to lose last week's game twice. He said it. Coming off, blowing the big lead, going into overtime. Always love looking at the overtime losers. That's an angle that anytime there are overtime games, whenever I start doing my next week's handicapping and when I get to one of those games, I'm always looking. My starting point is finding reasons to go against those teams that lost in overtime. There's always a carryover effect there. So clearly you have that with Tulsa. The fact that it was such a big lead and it was the undefeated team in the conference, SMU, makes it even worse. And then throw in the fact about you're coming off a game like that, and now you got to get mentally prepared to stop the option. The reason the option's so hard to defend is you don't see it, but maybe if you're lucky once a year, if you're in a conference that has a team like Air Force or Navy, or if you got that independent Army and you get them on their schedule yearly for a rivalry, you just don't see this, and it's hard to prepare. Now you're asking 20-year-old kids that are walking around kicking a tin can from feeling bad for themselves after blowing last week's game and tell them to try to get excited about defending the triple option. No, ain't happening. Yeah, this is all Navy in this spot, and you look at this Navy team. They've put points up. They put up 35 points against Memphis last week. They gave up 35 points to Memphis. They scored 23. They had turnovers in that game that shot themselves in the foot, but they scored 45, 42, and then last week 34 against Air Force. They were held a little bit in check there, but still got the win. And they're playing a team, Air Force, that knows how to stop the option because they run it themselves. So this team is highly efficient this year running that option attack, and I am going to look for them to get the job done too. And the thing that makes Navy even more dangerous is you just can't stop that run. I don't care what you do, you're not going to stop it. This year, they don't do it often, they complete, they average. It's ironic. Every game this year, they have completed 6 passes. That's it. 6 passes in every game. But they go for big plays. They've had 162 yards on 6 completions. They've had 153 yards on 6 completions and 103. They make those plays count. I like Navy. I agree with Jeff 101%.
Jeff, you're double fisting drinks today. What's up? 2 of them? Like not 1, 2?
Yeah. For you, Prez, I got to get ready. See that? I got
A beer?
I need a sponsor. I need it. It's Polar.
What the hell's a Polar?
Seltzer. And this is just water for a start. A Polar seltzer? It's seltzer. You never heard of Polar?
Well, you have a bad stomach when you come on?
I haven't heard
It's a New England thing, but in Pittsburgh, did they have it?
They didn't have that brand, but the seltzer waters are all, that's the rage right now, whether it's flavored seltzers or ask our beloved Kelly. She is into the White Claws.
Yes.
She loves the White Claw. So
I just invested in a company called Flow Water. So you guys want to check that out? I literally just invested yesterday in that business. Jeff Oskeim, talk to me, baby. 17-3 in your last 20, 31-13 over your last 30 days. You are absolutely slaying every sport out there. I got a promo. Do you want to talk about your run before I give it out?
Go for the promo. I think you covered it, Prez.
Okay, it's a small one. OSK 20, $20 off of any package that Jeff Oskeim has, $40 or more. And why did we choose this promo? Because Jeff has a 5% college football play up for Saturday. It's regularly $40. You can use the promo code OSK20 to get $20 off of that 5% play. Plus, you can get his 1-week package, $20 off, his 3-day package, $20 off, and so on and so forth. So head over to WagerTalk.com and use the promo code OSK20. Guys, let's talk real quick about baseball. We're going to talk just a futures right now, and that is Washington against St. Louis. Washington is minus 135. I love that bet. I think there's value there. I think with that starting rotation coming out of Washington, look, I get it. St. Louis's bats are alive. They beat up on Atlanta. I think Atlanta and Washington have a very different pitching rotation going right now. And I understand that Washington's pitching rotation is slightly off after everybody and their mother pitched the last game. I like Washington here, Marco, but I like them after game 1. I think they're going to lose game 1, and I think we're going to get better value on Washington. I think they're going to go to plus numbers. So I say wait till game 1 is over and then take Washington on the series.
That definitely makes sense, Prez. If they lose game 1, if they win game 1, then you've totally blown any value that was there, because they're going to be a much bigger favorite. There's no secret. I've got a vested interest in Washington. Back in mid-July, when I was doing the radio show with Dave Koken, on numerous shows, and because I was expecting Washington to go out and make a big trade at the trade deadline for a closer, because that's the only thing that was missing on this team. And I felt there was a ton of value because at the time they were battling just for a wild card spot. And I said, you know what, if this team wild card and wins that coin flip game, and then you get them into a 5 and 7 game series with this starting rotation, and we saw in the 5-game series, they used the starting rotation as relievers as well. It's hard to beat this team, and I thought there was tremendous value with Washington. So definitely, they were sitting around, I think they were 18-1 at the time for the NL pennant and 22-1 for the World Series. So definitely rooting for them. And I just got to say, when you started that promo for Jeff, I got a little scared there. You started it by saying, we want to talk about Jeff's package. And then you said, but it's a little one. And I didn't know where you were going with that.
Wow, Marco, you caught that. I was hoping that no one caught that. I was going to
I mean, I just thought that was our secret between three guys, Jeff, you know? Jesus.
I'm too worried about feeding my family. He's giving away $20 every time they buy my stuff. I can't feed my kid.
Okay, I will never give out a promo for you again.
No, just don't talk about his package in saying something small in the same sentence.
Jeff, Washington or St. Louis?
I love Washington, Prez. I agree with the both of you. It's one of my favorite bets in the series and in the futures market. I mean, one of the things I look at is how the Nationals, they strike out the second fewest times in the National League this season. And the Cardinals pitching staff, they pitch to contact, consistently pitch to contact all season long. And I think that gives a good edge to the Nationals, along with everyone else has stated about the starting rotation with Scherzer and Strasburg and Corbin. I mean, they were 43-20 combined during the regular season. But I think most importantly, they've all pitched in October. They both have postseason experience.
Yeah.
So that is going to be huge when you get into very stressful situations in the series itself. I really do like the Nationals in this spot. And I think if the Cardinals have any chance, they have to beat Sanchez tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a must.
Yeah.
I think it is just an absolute must. If they're going to steal a game, it has to be tonight against Sanchez.
Marco, I like the Yankees here. I mean, look, is Houston better? Of course, they're minus 170. I can get the Yankees at plus 150. I think there's going to be a lot of value. I understand Houston's pitching rotation is lights out. Garrett Cole is all world right now. I mean, he's putting up Florida Marlins Kevin Brown type numbers in this postseason. But the Yankees can hit, and they can hit anybody. And I'm going to have a lot of live bats. I've got a good rotation with the Yankees. I think the Yankees will win the first game. It's very hard. We see this in hockey, in baseball, in basketball. You go into an elimination game, you win that game, you come out flat the next game. I like the Yankees. I like the Yankees to win the first game, and then I'd like to see what type of middle I can get coming back with Houston in the series. But right now I'm taking the Yankees at plus 150. What do you think?
It's definitely you're always in every game with that lineup that they send out there to the plate every night. And then when you get to the end game, the Yankees have an advantage over Houston in the bullpen for the closers. But, the starting pitching, that edge clearly is with the Houston Astros. And, watching the Astros and having Tyler Glasnow on the mound and then Garrett Cole on the mound for Houston. You know how painful that was to watch my two former Pirate pitchers that we gave away and see how well they're doing once they left Pittsburgh. Garrett Cole, in my opinion, right now is the best pitcher in baseball, and he should win the Cy Young, but he's splitting votes with a teammate in Justin Verlander, and that might end up hurting both of their chances. But those are the two best pitchers in baseball. And you talk about a 7-game series when you know that you're going to have those two guys for 4 of the 7 games. That's pretty impressive. I don't know that the Yankees can overcome that, but the price, I would not take Houston. I can't give the Yankees that kind of value. So I'll be playing the Houston Yankees series game by game and look for the right spots where to go in there. The one plus that the Yankees have, and he's going to get stronger with each start, is Severino coming off the injured list. They've babied him through the month of September, just trying to build up his arm and get him some innings, but he's pitched very well for the Yankees, and that would be a big plus for them if he can make a splash in this series and then the next in the World Series if they advance.
Marco, Jeff, Garrett Cole is literally putting up big train numbers. There's only one pitcher that comes to mind that had 18-0 and a 1.66 ERA. 18-0 and a 1. Walter Johnson has come back and entered this guy's body because there has not been an 18-game stretch since Walter Johnson that is as insane as what Garrett Cole is doing. Strikeout-wise, ERA wise. These numbers are better than Koufax. They're better than Martinez. They're better than Clemens in his prime. They're even better than Juan Guzman. How's that for a old style reference?
Wow.
Remember Juan Guzman? Anyway,
I'll tell you what.
What?
If we get a World Series matchup, what do you make the over-under if we get Garrett Cole and Jack Flaherty? Because those two guys,
Flaherty is ridiculous
right now. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Could you?
Yeah.
I think there's a legitimate chance that there will be a hockey game that night with a higher total.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're in the National League ballpark.
Yeah, Jeff, what do you like in this series?
But I think the value is with the Yankees for sure, despite the pitching advantage. The starting rotation with Houston obviously has a big edge over the Yankees. But let's take a look at what the Yankees did to the Twins. They outscored them 23-7. I think Minnesota was averaging 5.8 runs per game during the regular season, and they batted .218 against the Yankees pitching staff. So the Yankees stepped up and they got it done against the Twins. I think the Yankees have a pretty good defense as well. I think it's underrated. And the one thing I'm looking at here is another reason I think there's value with the Yankees. I don't have a strong opinion on this series, but one reason there's value in New York is Aaron Boone learned from last year's ALDS. He's going to have a quick hook. He's not going to allow these starters like Paxton. He's not going to let them face one or two extra batters before he finally pulls them. And I think that's going to be also very important for a Yankee starting rotation. I think you're going to see Boone out there quick and early to get guys out and get his bullpen involved.
He's Jeff from Oskeim Sports. Marco D'Angelo, he's on a 29-10 run in all sports over the last 4 weeks. Marco, we have a promo up, 7 days of all your plays for $79. Promo code is Marco79. It's right at the bottom of the screen. Guys, let's talk some NFL. Marco, we'll go to you first. Baltimore, they were -11 hosting the Bengals. It has come down to 10.5. The over and under is 48. I'm not getting to the window with this game at all. I do lean on under the total, but this is an outright pass. It won't even make my TV set, and I've got 5.
You know what, Prez? Sometimes, those ugly ducklings, they give you a little extra. And the Bengals, that's where we're going to go here. They hit rock bottom last week, losing to Arizona. And granted, I'm not saying that Arizona is, a totally bad team. They're just, they got a rookie head coach. They got a rookie starting quarterback. And to lose at home on your home field to them, you can't get any lower. And I look for them to bounce back. And we talk about value all the time on our shows. Well, there's tremendous value with this Cincinnati team this week because the look-ahead line on this game was 8.5. And because of the Bengals' loss last week, this line comes out at 11 and now 10.5. What did Baltimore do? Baltimore barely beat the Steelers last week. They win by 3 on the road in overtime. The Steelers were down to their 4th-string quarterback, okay? Devlin Hodges was 4th on the depth chart for the Steelers at the beginning of the season. Big Ben, then it was Rudolph. Because Rudolph won the position, the Steelers were in a spot where they could trade away Joshua Dobbs to Jacksonville when they lost Nick Foles. They did that, and lo and behold, what happens that same week, the Steelers lose Ben, and they had to come back and sign Hodges. They liked him in training camp, but still, this was a kid that was a 4th-string quarterback, and they barely beat them last week. Now you're going to lay double digits with Baltimore. The only thing that might keep Baltimore excited in this game is the last time they played at home, they were embarrassed by Cleveland. Cleveland hung up 40 on them. But, guys, let's really look at the Baltimore games this year. They beat Miami 59-10 the first week of the season. Since then, a 6-point win over Arizona, a 5-point loss on the road at Kansas City that wasn't that close. They got a garbage touchdown at the end to get the backdoor cover. blown out by Cleveland, and then the 3-point win on the road to the Steelers. I'm not sold on Baltimore, and Baltimore's got a big game next week with Seattle, followed by New England. You just came off of Kansas City, rival Cleveland, rival Pittsburgh, and then you've got Seattle and New England on deck. Even though this is a division game, do you think they're really focused and going to take Cincinnati seriously? No, Cincinnati is a winless team. Winless teams, as you draw on later into the season, they're actually good percentage plays to take those teams in that spot. Our buddy Ralph supplies, a lot of good angles to us, and he provided me with this one from Week 6 winless teams in the NFL. 26-16 against the spread since 2001. And you look at Baltimore, they've been horrible as home favorites. They're 1-7. Their last 8 is a home favorite. They're 2-9-1. Their last 12 is a division favorite. That doesn't matter home or away. I just can't back them here. I'm going ahead. I'm taking Cincinnati plus the points. If you need to hold your nose, when you're making the wager, that's fine. You don't want people to see you. Put on some shades, pull the hoodie up, go to the window, make the bet. Or you know what? The beauty here in Vegas with all of our phone apps, I don't have to walk into the casino and let people see me making such an ugly bet on the Bengals. I could do it in the comfort of my home, on my couch, right on my phone app, and take care of it. But we're on the Bengals plus the points.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Marco. I mean, I leaned with Cincinnati in this game, and you have to ask yourself, are the Bengals actually underrated? I mean, 3 of their 5 losses were by 1 score, in which they led in the fourth quarter. And in 2 of those 5 losses, they actually led at the 2-minute warning. And if you look at the Ravens, I think they have become overvalued. They've allowed 96 points in the past 3 games, and the Ravens are averaging just 5.5 yards per play since week 1 when they took out the Dolphins. And their defense has not been very strong with the pressure. They have a 5% sack rate. My concern, and it's 2 big concerns. One is the mismatch with the Ravens running the ball right down the throats of the Bengals. The Bengals cannot stop the run. The Ravens don't hide the fact that they run 57.2% of the time when Lamar Jackson's under center. They've rushed an NFL high 180 times this season with a league high 57% rushing success rate. And if you look at the Bengals defense, they're allowing opposing running backs 203 yards and 1.8 touchdowns from scrimmage per game this season. That is horrible. They're ranked 31st in the league with 1.59 second-level yards allowed per game. And the Bengals can't cover running backs out of the backfield as well. And if you look at last season's game, Baltimore went in with the same game plan I think they're going to use on Sunday. They're going to run the ball right up the middle. They ran the ball 53 times against the Bengals for 267 yards. And I can see that repeating once again. So that's my only concern with time of possession and keeping the ball and grinding this game out. But I would lean from a value standpoint with the Bengals plus the points.
Marco, Philadelphia +3 against Minnesota. I did a full take on this on the NFL presidential address. If you guys want to hear my thoughts, just check out that show. This show is not about me. It's about my guests. What do you like, D'Angelo?
Well, I like Minnesota in this one, guys. You got 2 3-2 teams, and I think one of them is a little counterfeit. You look at Philadelphia, guys. They're 3-2, but look at who they have played. They've got a 5-point win over Washington, a game in which they were down big early, then was up big, and then had to hold on for the 5-point victory. They lost on the road at Atlanta. We know how bad Atlanta's playing right now. They lost at home to a Lions team. The jury's still out on Detroit. We think they might be better than we thought, but yet we're just not ready to pull the trigger on them. And then they went to Green Bay, got a big win on Thursday night, and that's when their stock went up, is after they beat Aaron Rodgers. And then they got the Jets. Well, they caught Green Bay at the right time. They caught Green Bay coming off of some big games in playing on a short week. They were able to run the football in that game against Green Bay. They had 176 yards on the ground. and that was the key to their victory. And then they come back and beat a pitiful Jets team. Looks like a total blowout, 31-6. But guys, there were 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. You take out 14 points scored by the defense, and you're looking at a 17-6 game, still a comfortable win, but the offense really didn't do a lot in that game. The reason I point out the Green Bay game, and the key to that was the 176 yards on the ground. You are not getting 176 yards on the ground against the Minnesota defense. Everything is going to come harder against this Minnesota defense. Playing in the Dome, on the road, and Minnesota got big win last week. We were on them for a big play last week against the Giants, because those are the kind of games that Kirk Cousins can win. When the running game can work and he doesn't have to carry the team with his arm, he's okay. And he threw for 279 yards last week, 22 of 27. Why did he throw for so many yards? Well, because they ran for 211. They won't run for that many against Philadelphia this week, but they will have success. And if you look at this Philadelphia defense, other than the New York Jets that they held to 6 points, and we know all of the offensive woes the Jets have had, every team has scored 24 or more against them. 24 by Atlanta, Washington, Detroit, and Green Bay all put up 27 on Philadelphia. I'm looking at Minnesota in this game, and if you want to really make 2 plays in this game, I think the over is also something that you've got to look at, considering the way that defense for Philadelphia has played. It's going to force them to have to trade points with Minnesota, and you'll see Carson Wentz chucking the ball downfield. This is a team that has scored 24 or more in all but one of their games, and they've scored 30-plus in 3 of them. I like the over, but I like Minnesota better.
That's Marco D'Angelo, and based on the exquisite view out of the window of where he's taping, you're sitting in the foundation room at Mandalay Bay. That would be my guess.
That's that's where the photographer was sitting. I can tell you that.
Not bad though that I plucked that out of the air. Jeff, talk to me.
I agree with Marco. I think ultimately the right play here is on Minnesota, but there are 2 issues I have with the Vikings. One is, and I have to ask Marco, do you trust their offensive coordinator, Kevin Stefanski, on running the ball over and over and over again, despite the fact that the Eagles are riddled with injuries in the defensive backfield? I mean, they're pulling guys off the couch to play in the secondary. I think, Marco, didn't you get a call last week from the Eagles to play? I mean, for crying out loud, that's how desperate they are. But I just question whether or not the offensive game plan is going to utilize more bootlegs and rollouts like they did against the Giants in this game, because that is how Kirk Cousins can succeed. He's got to be on rollouts and bootlegs to get him out so he can read his receivers and find out who's open. And then you go to Kirk Cousins. The question is, can we trust him? He's 24-14 in his NFL career against teams with losing records, but if you put him up against a team with a winning record, he's 9-22-1 straight up, and 13-18-1 against a spread versus teams with winning records. With that said, that's kind of balanced out with Mike Zimmer for the Vikings. I mean, these trends are remarkable, what Zimmer has done in Minnesota since 2014. Where the Vikings are 29-12-1 against the spread at home. They're 32-15-1 against the spread as favorites. They're 39-13-1 versus non-division foes, and they're 18-2-1 as non-divisional home favorites. I mean, I just think the way to go here would be Minnesota laying the small number, but I am concerned about whether or not the Vikings are going to throw the ball enough in this game.
He's Jeff, the other guy's Marco, and I'm the Prez. That, my friends, is the show. Jeff, are you going to join Marco and I on Monday for the NFL opening line report?
Let me check with the boss. I need to check with my boss.
Well,
on that.
Let's bring her. Do it now. Do it now on live. Get her over here.
Well, she's not here.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
She's not here.
Okay, boys. Great show. Best of luck this week. Marco, I have seen some of your plays. We are not against each other, so you don't have a guaranteed win. My apologies. If there is a play that is crucial to the success of Wager Talk, I will bet against it so that it will win.
Prez, that's great for you taking one for the team there. And I just want to do a shout out, though. That $79 special that we're running this week, Prez, I've already got a 5% play up for Sunday, my NFL game of the month. That play by itself is 40. We're planning on having a 5% on Saturday as well. So if you bought those two plays by themselves, it's $40 on Saturday. It's $40 on Sunday. You can get 7 days for $79. You're even smart enough to know that that's a good deal.
Even me?
Even you.
Wow.
Okay, we're
Mark
done.
goes
We're done.
79.
Guys, we're done. I gotta go eat. Jeff, find out from the boss if you can join us Monday.
You want some fruit, Prez?
That's so healthy, Jeff.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Fruit.
That
There's
looked
no
like a
fruit on my
I
work
take
desk.
after Marco.
What?
I take
Yeah.
after
Was that
Marco.
papaya?
Watermelon.
Okay. Almost out of season. Later, boys. I'm the Prez, Marco, Jeff. Scroll.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thing over there. Thing over there. Thing over there. All over there. Have a great weekend.